A very good afternoon to one and all gathered here today. On behalf of HSBC, I would like to extend a warm welcome to you for the launch of UniTransact. I would also once again like to announce this session is being recorded. You can post your question in the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. Without further ado, I would like to call upon Mr. Hitendra, Chief Executive Officer, HSBC India, to deliver the opening remark.
Thank you, Louisa. And good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the launch of HSBC UniTransact, which is our universal transaction banking proposition. Quite honestly, this is a unique proposition, and I know the word unique is often abused because most organizations, whenever they come out with a new product or a new solution, like to call it unique. But I hope as we go along over the course of the next 30, 40, 50 minutes or so, the audience, especially the most important people in this audience, which is our customers, will also agree that what we have put together here is something which will really make the experience of transacting cross-border much more easier in terms of receiving your export flows or making your import payments, etc. It's hosted, this HSBC UniTransact is hosted on our award-winning HSBC Net platform. And what it really aims to do is to unify your interactions, the customer's interactions during the cross-border transaction journey. Otherwise, you do have every cross-border transaction tends to have different parts where, whether the FX leg has got done or not, or the trade documentation where it lies, or whether the funds are in your account or not. So this is really removing or minimizing the manual intervention through the course of a cross-border payments transaction. It actually has additional functionalities. For example, it enables comprehensive end-to-end visibility of cross-border transactions to clients, and that's very important. Otherwise, we've all experienced customers call to check where it is. We will have to check ourselves, but this is really giving you everything in one view. So you can really have a unified view of what is the status of your transaction. It's developed and launched especially for India. I mean, this is something I'm quite proud about, and I'd like you to go back to your teams also, that this is not a one-size-fits-all product. This has been really designed, customized, taking into account India's foreign exchange controls and regulations. And this solution really unifies the various touch points, which otherwise you, the customer, have to undertake across different divisions of the bank, whether it's some trade, whether it's payments, and whether it's foreign exchange related teams. There is a lot to talk about this proposition, but rather than me talking about it and tom-tomming what we have achieved, I would like to share a video that really showcases the functionalities of HSBC UniTransact, and I hope thereafter the words that I emphasize, it's a unique proposition, you, the most important person, that is the customer, will also agree with. So with that, Louisa, I want to thank you, and you can we can move to the video stage now.
Wish cross-border transactions were smarter, faster, and more efficient? Presenting HSBC UniTransact, a dynamic solution that simplifies cross-border transactions for you. Track your payments in real time. Get end-to-end visibility of all your transactions with a customized view on the dashboard. Upload transaction documents in multiple formats. Get alerts and notifications throughout the payment journey. Resolve discrepancies online with reduced touch points. And simplify your FX journey. With HSBC UniTransact, enjoy a seamless and smarter transaction experience across trade, payments, and FX services. Because smarter business unlocks tomorrow. Talk to our representative today.
Thank you, Dave. We would now proceed to the most awaited segment of today's session, the panel discussion on UniTransact. The discussion would shed light on how UniTransact can help you simplify and navigate cross-border challenges efficiently. Let me begin with welcoming our panelists for today. Calling upon Mr. Prasad, Director and Company Secretary at International Flavours and Fragrances India Private Limited. Prasad has over 18 years of work experience in handling finance, tax, controlling and treasury activities of several leading multinationals in India, including 12 plus years as head of finance of India and few other Asian countries. Ram Prasad currently heads controlling team of Indian subcontinent including India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal and Madagascar. In addition to his daily responsibilities, Ram Prasad champions several special projects and new initiatives in IFF India. He has vast experience in the areas of manufacturing finance, working capital management, mergers and acquisition, due diligence, ERP implementation, finance transformation projects, etc. Ram Prasad is a qualified chartered accountant, company secretary, certified forex and treasury manager with graduation in commerce. He is married with 2 sons and loves music, reading, tech enthusiast and an avid learner. Next we have Mr. Manish Jain, Senior Principal Infosys. Manish has over 25 years of global experience in financial services advisory and technology transformation. He advises financial institutions across businesses and helps with strategizing, designing, and executing banking, digital transformation, risk management, and regulatory strategies and infrastructure in the financial services industry. He specializes in helping firms navigate business innovation and technology complexity. Next, we have Mr. Hitendra Dave, Chief Executive Officer, HSBC India. Due to certain unforeseen circumstances, one of our panelists couldn't join us today. Our apologies. Moving on, I would now like to welcome our moderator, Mr. Manoj Goel, MD and Head, Corporate Sales Markets and Securities Services, HSBC India, to lead the discussion. Over to you, Manoj.
Yeah, thank you, Louisa, and very warm welcome to our panelist. Maybe I can start with Dave. To start with you, HSBC UniTransact has received a lot of positive traction and attention, not only within HSBC India, but also from the wider HSBC group. So what do you think makes it such a standout proposition?
Yeah, no, I think it's a lot of reasons. And again, for the benefit of some of you who are not from within HSBC, I think this was really designed, almost the architecture, the design was done by. It's not led by some tech platforms. It's not some vendor outside. We have used the assistance of everybody. IT teams obviously have helped us. Our operations team have helped us. But this was really people who interact with customers and who know what was needed to make the customer journey or the customer experience related to cross-border payments and receipts a lot more efficient, smoother, where information would be available in one go, where you could have discrepancy management, the kind of things which, the most common reasons why the customer gets in touch with you. And the best placed people obviously are the people who speak to the customers. And it's those sitting with IT teams, sitting with tech teams, sitting with outside vendors, sitting with inside vendors, sitting with regulatory compliance teams, because this is a regulated market. So I think that's one reason this is really telling us, while obviously it is known within HSBC, but I would like to share with everyone that this is a good model of how to develop a product, which is what the most important person in this room, which is the customer needs, as opposed to some very bright idea that we have, but lands rather poorly. I think that's one. And the other is, I think this video does not do exact justice. So I am hoping as more and more customers actually experience the use of HSBC UniTransact, they will realize just how many things have been eased and solved, and visibility, discrepancy management, no manual intervention. If at all there is any manual thing, it's at the back end, it's at our end and not at the customer end at all. So I think a combination of these reasons. The third is obviously customer feedback. See, ultimately, if customers tell us it's a good product, it's a good product. We patting ourselves on the back at some stage, doesn't sound very appropriate. And best as I have heard so far, we have done pilots with quite a few customers, more than a few hundred. Therefore, we by now know, and we have used that feedback to further fine tune. So I think combination of all these reasons, Mr. Goel, is the reason why I think this is something which I'm happy to call unique.
Thank you for that, Dave. And moving back to Ram, and as Dave mentioned that it's important what as a customer you feel, and you have been one of our early adopters of the system. So just would like to hear from you, how has UniTransact helped your team?
Good afternoon to all participants, HSBC team and my co-panelist. Thanks for this opportunity to share our experience about this UTB platform. So every new technology brings its own set of challenges, right? When HSBC called me and said we are requesting you to be on the pilot run, I had my own doubts because of the risks which would have associated with this. But today I'm really happy that I have been one of the early adopters of this one, and I'm able to share the experiences with all the co-customers and the HSBC Bank. On the UTB platform, if you look at, I would give you exactly the gain or the best points what we could see. The first point is the discrepancy resolution. Most of the customers would agree that discrepancy resolution is something which is a native part of the cross-border transaction, and the team spend a lot of time on mail communication, clarification, and a lot of communication exchanges on the discrepancies. Now this has been brought on the UTB, and now we are able to give discrepancy responses for each and every payments what we are making. This makes it very unique that the execution team is able to log in and see how many discrepancies are raised, and they were able to answer for each and every item. It makes it very easy for them to track and respond back once again if the query still keeps on existing. So this helps us to solve point by point, and this makes our journey very easy. In fact, thanks to HSBC for giving a step ahead for us. When you are loading a payment into UTB, if you are an experienced person, you will be able to solve the query. You will be able to foresee what query comes in for a payment, and you will be able to load that response, which makes the process much more faster. So the second one I would highlight is the single stop solution for the entire Forex cross-border transaction. It starts with the loading, approvers, and then the step goes on to each and every process which the company has and also the bank has. Like there is a separate bucket for the treasury team, there is a separate bucket for the team who's solving the discrepancies, separate bucket for the person who's picking the transaction for posting. So that's an interesting experience for us. All the more we have got alerts for each and every transaction process completion. This makes it very unique that we don't need to exchange communication between our team to alert everybody.
Thank you, Ram, for that. And for the benefit of everybody, I think UTB has been our internal project name, and that's why Mr. Ram has been referring to the proposition as UTB. But of course, the external proposition name for us is HSBC UniTransact now. Manish, moving on to you, and coming from the industry, and you do work a lot with various market participants, making their life easier. Just want to touch upon given the increased adoption of digital channels with COVID situation as well. What do you think has been the increased adoption in that space, especially in highly regulated transaction banking flows space?
Sure, Manoj. Thanks HSBC team for inviting for this discussion. Happy to be here. Globally, B2B payment transaction, if you look at it, it accounts for almost $127 trillion US dollars in payment terms, and it is expected to be around $200 trillion in next 5 to 7 years. Now, that is the size of explosion that is going to happen in the payment side of it, in the corporate cross-border payments. And if you look at it, it is a 5x of the retail volume transactions that is there in the corporate banking side. So there is a lot of euphoria and then talk about in terms of innovation in the retail payment side of it. But there is a 5x opportunity that is available as a part of cross-border payments as well as the corporate payments and B2B payments. And that is exploding a lot. And on an average, post-pandemic, if you look at the overall digital transactions, has increased from 81% to 94%. So there is a large adoption that's happening with the corporates. And the bigger challenge on the corporate side, along with the banks, prior to pandemic, when we used to say a lot of processes at the enterprise level were not digital. So the adoption of digital processes, even the effort put in by the banks, are not adopted by the enterprises also, because their processes also needs to scale up to come to that level. But the good part is that with the post-pandemic world, every organization has moved a lot in their digital processes, maturity, the opening up of the APIs, the integrations becomes easier. So the lot of adoption and is also possible with respect to enterprises to connect with the banks and financial institutions. Even if you look at India as a market, it is a 19 billion transactions that is there, $19 billion US dollar transactions that is there. And in RTGS growth itself is 10% per year on the volume basis. So there is a immense growth that's happening on that, and the RTP and all others are coming. But globally, if you look at the regulations, the G2, G20 countries are coming up with FSB and other state boards and other things with respect to the 5 frameworks that is coming all across with respect to powering the digital new infrastructure, designing the data and privacy laws around that, regulatory frameworks coming up. So a lot of innovations are also coming in terms of the standardizations of the policies and processes across the world. So it's the same business, same risk, and same rule. So I think the regulators are also looking at these 3 themes together. That's the business remains the same, risk remains the same. So why the rules are different? So rules also has to be same. So if that comes across, there is a tremendous opportunity for banks like HSBC to take these solutions global, because it will be immense value to the customer who are operating across multiple geographies.
Sure. In fact, Manish, if I can add, for us, it was great that we have been working on this proposition before the COVID, hit us. At least we're in a position we've been able to launch this as the world is moving from more adoption, and we're at the right place to have this ready now and being able to offer to our clients. The way moving back to you, and you did mention the various, HSBC being a global bank, we operate in so many countries. Would like to draw on you why India was chosen as the first country to launch UniTransact.
One is Manoj. We made a lot of noise about it, so therefore I think that forced our hand a little bit. But I think if you have to accept that India is at the cutting edge of a lot of technology right now. Technology adoption is very rapid. There's a lot of factors at play, right? I mean, younger population, therefore much more prone to accepting change. I think a regulator who's really made some of the payment infrastructure best in class. I'm sure there are 250 people on this call. Whoever has traveled outside India can confirm that the payment options that are available in India and the ease with which they are available is enabling all of us to then be much more comfortable with the technology. So therefore, I think India is the right place. I think the product is designed especially for fast-growing economies with customers that are having significant rise in exports and imports, but where there is a foreign exchange regulation in place, and therefore you do need to have the trade and the cash and the FX teams coming. It was the perfect combination in that sense. And I would also say that the kind of commitment that was needed across teams, and also we have a customer base which is excellent. Ram himself mentioned, right? We are very privileged to have customers who will allow us to develop something in their office. I think this is a great privilege we have, and that also gave us the confidence that we could work with our customers who are well-intentioned, who have our interest at heart, and obviously their interest we have at our heart. So I think a lot of reasons came together, and I think our customer base in India is very large relative to many other markets. India is a market where you have, this is a mass market product. Eventually, we will want to make sure that more and more customers use this. So I think for a whole bunch of these reasons, and of course, the other thing I would highlight is, and again, for the benefit of the 250 people who are not from HSBC, India is a very large and important part of HSBC. We are a top 3, top 4, top 5 contributor consistently. And the products that contribute the most to it, trade, FX, and cash management, all 3 are integral to HSBC UniTransact. So I think I would suggest a mix of everything came together for the reason India was piloted. And now I just want to share with others that we actually will be rolling this out in other countries based on our experiences and learning. So this is not going to remain an India product. but with depending on each country's requirement, we'll tweak it. But it's been made such that it's modular. It can incorporate customer feedback, and it can incorporate the requirements of the geography where we intend to take this. But I'm very happy India was the first place where it was rolled out.
Ram, coming back to you, if I think from our perspective, from the bank perspective, when we're designing the system or thinking of it, or the initial idea was clearly as in your interaction with the bank in any cross-border transaction to go through various departments of the bank. And the idea here was, virtually you can have one interface which unifies all those interactions, so that you're not looking at you're dealing with trade department or cash management or FX department, but you have everything visible in a unified manner in one dashboard. And you did mention the seamless experience on discrepancy resolutions, etc., which was the idea. But just going further, maybe to hear from your perspective, the efficiency or the time saving which this is leading to your team. Could you elaborate a bit more on that particular aspect?
Like David mentioned, there are several teams interact when it comes to the Forex cross-border handling, transaction handling. There is an export team who handles the exports and gets us the collections. There is an AP team which plans for the payments, and as a treasurer, we need to plan for the funds. So there is a lot of interaction which happens. And earlier, when we were all in office, it used to be that we were exchanging the discussions offhand. Now, when we started working virtually, a lot of communication has started coming in, and that has led to increase in the number of mails exchanges or the chats going on here and there between the teams. And there was no one unified information which was floating across the team to get a clarity on what is expected as an inflow, what is expected as an outflow, and how a treasurer could match. This is a huge challenge which we were facing for fixing the Forex rates at the right time when the markets are fluctuating. So this gave us a little bit of increase in the communications. When the UniTransact platform came in, this gave the clear visibility of how much of inflows we are expecting for a day, how much of outflows we are expecting for a day, and the treasurer gets the ability to fix the rates at the best level, whatever is possible, right? So this communication thing has really improved, and we were able to reduce the time which we spend on that, and the lot of missing transactions have also got reduced. The next thing which saved us a lot of time is relating to the alerts, what we were used to get. Okay, during a day, if a transaction is completed by the bank, we used to get this information by late evening or something, and we may miss a chance to book the rates at the best levels. So once the transactions are ready, we are immediately getting the communication from the bank for us to say that, yes, these are Forex ready, so you can book the rates. So it was helping us very much. And as a treasurer, the next role would be to really understand how much of inflow, outflow, and get the net rates, what a net amount for which you need to book. And there may be some errors which may creeping in if you are doing anything wrong in the calculations, right? So in the UniTransact platform, when we were seamlessly moving from the transaction to the Forex rate booking, that saved a lot of errors for us. So overall, the time savings was relating to the communication or the way in which we were handling. Of course, we can't discount the savings, time savings, what we have got today by solving the discrepancies at a faster rate.
Sure. The way we have an audience question, and maybe if you can throw some light on that. Many of our clients have a central treasury team which manage multiple entities, and of course they have sizable payable receivable teams. And some of these companies also manage forward contracts, etc., hedge their exposures. So in that context, how can UniTransact help these sort of clients? You're on mute, David.
Off mute now?
Yeah.
I'm saying that I think it's actually one of the inherent reasons why we sort of designed this particular product, because earlier a lot of the time, and then Ram mentioned this himself, right, that a lot of the time you would spend, if you were in the treasury and your job was to just make sure you do market access at the right time, rather than focus on the market, be in touch with our sales teams and agree when is the time to lock in the forward, pay or receive, as the case might be. The teams are spending too much time internally with their accounts payable or accounts receivable teams or with the bank to ensure that the transactions are ready to be processed and contracts could be utilized in time. So because like I mentioned, and I think Ram also mentioned, because there is a consolidated view and the discrepancy mechanism is much more automated and much more smooth now, it just makes it easier to bring the same view of transactions to the entire team. Therefore, the accounts payable team and the treasury team have the same view. And therefore, it is easy for everyone to figure out where a transaction processing is actually at. Additionally, I would just call out that the way HSBC UniTransact has been designed, it is also providing flexibility to the companies to seamlessly link multiple forward contracts. Okay, so you can actually you can do netting across an entity or across group of entities as well. So it's because it's allowing you to seamlessly link multiple forward contracts with single or multiple payments and execute activities like early delivery, etc. I think this is the reason why at least I personally feel that the treasuries of our clients will actually find this a great tool of efficiency and value addition, because now they know where the transaction is and they can market access based on that information being available to the entire customer, different units of the customer unit at the same time. So that's how I think it sort of helps even the central treasury teams.
Sure. Manish, coming back beside the cross-border transaction flow, which I've been talking about, clearly if you have a system which connects a lot of part and provide visibility both internally to the bank as well as to the clients, this could open up potentially space for more value-added services for clients. Any thoughts around that?
Absolutely, Manoj. So first is a seamless integration with the API integration along with the overall corporate ERP systems. That's a big area as a next steps, because now if you have a unified dashboard in terms of all discrepancies, all the products, all the transactions, but if it seamlessly integrates with the ERP systems as well, that is open up a lot of new opportunities. A lot of people talked about non-banking account aggregation also in India, more from a retail perspective. But if you look at from the corporate perspective also, if the corporates give the consent and then you consolidate whole data across multiple entities also, or multiple financial institutions, and give a consolidated liquidity view. So there could be many new use cases that can be created and come up because of the overall digital ecosystem that is coming up in India, can open up a different potential of opportunities over here. Now, with respect to real-time payments, the RTGS available 24/7 also pose a different set of opportunities and risk for the corporates also to manage their liquidity. So how do you help the enterprises to build those liquidity and dynamically manage those liquidity, because RTGS is also available 24/7. So there are opportunities which is coming up because of the overall ecosystem is also changing in the marketplace. Then the data sharing and open banking, and in terms of monetization of a data, both from the corporate and financial institutions perspective, the use cases are coming up. And the virtual account management is something which is catching up, and globally all the banks are looking at it in terms of how do you leverage virtual account management and make your reconciliation processes much smoother and simpler.
Sure. So I think clearly, Manish, as we internally think this is just a start of the journey, I think there's a lot more things which we keep adding on this proposition which has been built in. This is the start of the journey, and we look forward to having our clients provide a lot of feedback which we can add as we go along. Couple of audience questions have come in, and maybe I will just take that right now. So the first question is, do we have MIS for FX contract and utilization along with the underlying reference? Yes, I think maybe I can answer that. The answer is yes. The system along with the associated system will have the ability to provide the FX contract and utilization. The second question, which I see and maybe quite useful for quite wide clients, is does this solution apply to all transaction types? That is A1, A2, inward, irrespective of beneficiary type, etc. Yes, the broader answer will be yes. The system has been designed to cater to majority of our clients' flow, including both payable and receivable across goods, services, or capital account as well. Of course, there could be few nuanced use cases, and our endeavor, as I just mentioned earlier, is to keep bringing those kind of use cases as well on this proposition. So maybe in interest of time, I will just like to ask a last question. we have heard now from our client, from industry experts. What do you think is the way forward for us? What do we need to do to make banking for our clients faster, simpler, and more efficient?
Oh, I think we need to learn. There is a lot of, all of us as individuals in our position as customers, we are experiencing extreme ease of doing a lot of things, right? I mean, making payments has become, it's like carrying cash, endless amount of cash on your mobile, right? If you as long as you have a mobile connected to the phone. So one is, I think, clearly listen to the customer. I think the best thing would be that, and then one of the purposes of this, having this launch in the way that we are doing it, is obviously to encourage more and more feedback. We want to learn, we want to help, we want to make we think this is a good product, but obviously, this is a journey. We will keep improving it based on the feedback. So please, my request to you through this medium, to, if you have any suggestions as you use this, please, give it back to us, and we will try and do what it takes. Second is obviously work with local technology companies, as apart from our own IT systems, to just, you make the user experience in line with what customers increasingly are getting used to. And third is bring best practices from around. I mean, India does not have a monopoly on just exporting ideas. There are very good suggestions outside also, in Korea and great markets like that. I think bring those back into me. But net, I think our intention is to make the job of our customers who are in the business of processing cross-border transactions a seamless, smooth, easy experience in line with what increasingly all of us are getting used to in our individual lives as well. So that's really what I would say. I think where it just becomes such a smooth thing that people don't have to, if we want to get less calls in, we want to get less emails in, and everything should be automated and everything should settle digitally and automatically. That's where we are headed.
Okay, thank you, Dave, for that. And I think I'll just take one more last question, which has come from our audience and for our clients who have been using Digitrade. So the question is, we are already on Digitrade. How is this different, and are the two systems interconnected? Yes. The answer is yes, they are definitely interconnected. That has been the endeavor. And the idea is, of course, Digitrade is one particular aspect of related to trade payments, where the information how you provide to the bank is coming on digitally. But after that, the remaining process flow, such as discrepancy resolution, then the payment being sent, and the entire visibility on where does it lie in this entire transaction journey, is what UniTransact would provide. And as we mentioned earlier, the UniTransact will cater not only to the trade related payments, but also other service and all other kind of payable and receivable. It connects everything. So Digitrade in a way provides one small part of the whole journey. The UniTransact will provide the entire journey. I'm quite conscious of the time, and we do have some more questions, but I apologize, we won't be able to take that. We will definitely connect offline with the people who have raised those questions. So I'd like to thank you, the panelists, for their time and valuable comments. Louise, I will pass back the mic to you.
Thank you all for sharing your valuable insights. It was truly an interesting discussion. I'm sure our participants have understood UniTransact better. I would now like to invite Mr. Rajat Verma, MD and Head Commercial Banking, HSBC India, to share the closing remark.
Sure, Louisa, thank you so much. I found the discussion very, very engaging. I'll just try to recapture some of the points which stuck to my head. So when Dave spoke about in his opening and also in some of the questions that he answered, he spoke a lot about the design of this system, which I think is quite important. It is designed by frontline people and not by IT teams alone. And the other thing is that it's sort of co-created with customers as well, and the whole journey of refining it has been done with a lot of customers. So I think that's unique about the design. The other thing about the design, which again he spoke about and kind of is quite important, is that it is designed for regulated markets. Like India, and there are several other markets which are regulated as well, which hopefully this product will roll out very quickly. And that kind of is a great segue into what I heard from Ram. I was very happy to use the word happiness with the discrepancies is a little strange, but he spoke immediately. The first comment from Ram was that there's discrepancies is the biggest problem, and this kind of helps me address discrepancies online, and I was really happy to hear that. By the way, in our trade processing, and I'm kind of restricting this point to trade processing, but it applies more generally, a very large percentage, it varies between 20 to 30% at various points in time, of transactions initiated have discrepancies. And part of the reason is regulations, part of the reason is inaccurate understanding of that or of the paperwork, and part of it is at the bank's end. So clearly, being able to resolve discrepancies, I think, is a massive, massive point, and hopefully the system will help in that. I think the points around alerts and is also very important. The points about being on the mobile and moving to a more easy to watch, easy to look at system is also quite important. I think then the point that Manish made about volumes and moving, wholesale payments doesn't get all the glory that retail payments gets. Very, very true. I didn't know the volume was 5 times of retail payments, but yeah, I mean, it's quite important to invest in it. And by the way, many of you already know this, HSBC is the largest trade bank in the world, one of the largest FX providers in the world, and therefore it's quite incumbent on us to provide leading cutting edge solutions in this. And we think, this solution, UniTransact, is in that direction. So, just to summarize this, the whole objective of this whole system, or of this whole way of working, was really, it lies in the name UniTransact. It's to unify several journeys into one, to make it simpler. So simplicity is the cornerstone of this project. And I think banking has become more complicated, or payments and transactions have become more complicated than they need to be. And in some ways, UniTransact is our contribution to try to bring this back into a level of simplicity which meets the regulations, but also meets your expectations. So, I'd like to thank all of you, all 250 clients at this peak joined and listened into this software. But more than anything, I'd like to invite you to experience the system and judge for yourself. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, Rajat, for the wonderful remark. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we come to the end of today's session. Thank you for your participation. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Signing off, stay safe, take care.